Hi guys, it's Matt here. It's Oathwire, and I have the indomitable Micheal, aka Warcorgi, as my co-host today. Welcome, Micheal. Good evening or good afternoon, where you are, I suppose, at the moment now.
Well, it's a little after 5, so I'm going to go with good evening,
Good
especially
evening.
since it's, late January and it's definitely dark outside. So
Oh
happy to
yes,
be here, Matt. Thanks for the invite.
yeah. No. It's always pleasant to speak to you, my friend. So yeah, guys, we just do this episode. We don't know what episode number it is yet, so because we were hoping to record a different episode tonight, but we have a man down with COVID, so which is not good. So hopefully, by the time he hears this, he will be better. So get better, Chris. So yeah, we're going to be covering a bit of the spells from hangover from our last conversation. We're going to be going through some spells in Oathbreakers and Battlesworn. But first of all, we are going to go into what's new. So what is new for you, Micheal?
Oh boy, so it's a big what's new for me as I'm getting ready to start a 3-player campaign.
I
Now,
saw.
you've done the 4-player campaign over there
Mm,
in England. As you know, it's kind of a challenge to come up with rules that keeps everyone involved and is fair. So what I've done is decided on a map-based campaign, much like you have decided upon, and have been working out the rules for that and getting various opinions on whether or not this is going to work. So I'm anxious to kick that off.
yeah, no, I've read those, and I do owe you feedback. So super rude me, but I have read them, and I think looking at them, there's some really good looking rules actually in there. Some ones that might be work quite nicely. I'm going to nick as well, so I will get that back to you. It's just I've been a lazy monkey, and
See, I didn't get any feedback, so I just assumed that you thought they were perfect as is. So
yeah, well,
it's
there is
kind of
that.
funny.
Yeah,
I
no.
didn't send them out to the people who will be in the campaign, and I didn't get much feedback from them either. But that's not unusual.
Yeah, I was like, did Chris? The question is, did Chris even read them?
He did, yes. He saw a bonus that he liked, and he emailed me or texted me about that. And then, of course, the other player is going to be Jim, not Chin.
No.
As he's fairly new to the game, and certainly as a campaign, I think it's going to take him coming over this weekend to kind of discuss it with him and get his feedback.
Yeah, no, that's cool. Yeah, no, I'll definitely be getting that to you this weekend, my friend. So, it's recording, and in about 45 minutes will be my birthday, so I've got a few days off. So I'm going to take advantage of that and do some bits and pieces. I am going to do some painting. I've finished off my elf cavalry with some bits and pieces. I'm going to do a bit of YouTube. We were discussing, so we were just talking about the Battlesworn book, and I am planning to do a little YouTube-esque. No, it is not YouTube. It is YouTube, but I'm going to do a little landing-esque scenario for some boats. I've not used the boats.
That's dangerous waters right there, Matt.
Absolutely. Haha. Boom, boom. He's here all night. The guy over at Blots has been doing some new boats and bits and pieces, MDF boats. I reached out to him and said, hey, do you fancy lending me some of your boats for me to do how to build and a scenario just to show people his boats, and it gets me to get back in the YouTube land, because I've not been doing a lot of stuff. I've had a bit of a hobby burnout with the old COVID and stuff. It was getting back on the horse has been difficult, and I need to kick up the bum. So this is what I'm going to use for that. So I'm really looking forward to that. They're going to do some sort of like mini landing on a river. Some elves and some orc types, sort of like Vietnamese riverine patrol or something like that. So I'm looking forward to that. And the other bits that's new is it's the end of January. It's 4th of March is the second Oathmark Games Day in Birmingham that I've organised. We are I'm hoping that we're going to get some more people coming. We are light on numbers at the moment, so I'm going to be promoting the Jesus out of that, to be honest, rattling some cages. So if you're listening to this, guys, and you fancy having an excellent day, 3 games of Oathmark with like-minded people in Birmingham, easy to get to if you're in the UK. Obviously, if you're outside the UK, not so easy. But yeah, have a look at the links I'm going to be bombarding Facebook with over the next, and Discord and over the next few weeks, and go and get yourself a ticket.
I think if you can get Scruffy Crow to commit, that will like really boost.
He is
the
coming.
Event.
He's,
see, there you go.
Yeah.
It's going to sell itself.
Yeah.
I would lead with that, like featuring Scruffy Crow, and then small letters underneath and Matt Biggs.
Yeah, exactly.
I might even leave off the and Matt Biggs.
Yeah, right. That's fair enough. Scruffy Crow leading the way.
Yeah,
absolutely. They were going to help me promote it. Actually, I did do. They do a podcast. Him and Johnny.
Johnny Watkins.
Absolutely, and they were fantastically. We did a episode. I did an episode with them, which was longer than and was doing a bit of an ass, my friend, and they tried to keep it an hour. It's an hour and a half. Unfortunately, because I haven't got a compressor mic, and we were doing it over Discord, they've got them talking and me saying nothing. So pleasurable for quite a lot of people, I've heard, not hearing me talk, but not great for a podcast. So I'm hoping at some point we might be able to redo that. But it was a really good podcast, actually, and it's really annoying. But they were going to promote it through there, but I'm going to be chucking that out and and that. It was quite interesting as we were talking about future of Oathmark, how the old world was gonna, GW old world's gonna affect it, etc. So
I'll be anxious to hear that, because that is on the horizon, the distant horizon, but
it is. It is.
And with that event coming up on March 4th, that might be the kick that you need to get back on the hobby train, because I can tell you with this campaign starting up, I've been doing a ton of hobby work in just the last month. Trying to get all the armies fully painted. Now, Chris will have Chris's army. Jim uses my elves and halflings, and then, of course, my undead and Skaven. So, get them all up to snuff.
Yep, undead is wrong, but it's all right. I'm there. I'm starting a second campaign as well on Oathmark, just the 2 of us. So, with a friend of mine. So I'm looking forward to that. So. You're probably listening to this, but I've stuck some undead. I've gone with the wraiths in my. Yeah, I know. It was after we talked about it. Actually, I was like, I'm having wraith in my army.
I fear Chris is probably going to do the same type of shenanigans, and Jim and I are going to be totally outgunned, because we haven't played with any war machines in our 8 games that we played together.
I've got like catapult as well. Because I got that GW one that my friend I'm going to be playing against gave me, so I am going to use that because it just looks beautiful. If I don't say it myself, but anyway,
light catapults, heavy catapults. He'll probably make up medium catapults so you can have more. So
ballistas just on top of catapults or something, so you can fire the catapult and then the ballista as he flies over. So. It's going to be great. Are you going to be recording those games?
I would imagine if between Chris and me for sure, and then between Jim and me, it's just been tricky. Those games go on forever, I'm afraid.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, I know what you mean. When you've got 3 or 4 games playing on this, editing it down into something useful, or actually having a camera that lasts that long, it's difficult.
Yes.
But yes. No, I want to get back into some battle reporting. Just life and COVID and everything else has got in the way. So, but next month I'm going to be getting back into it for sure.
It's kind of like going to the gym. It feels good once you start doing it. Just getting that initial motivation to get in the habit can be difficult.
Yeah, no, absolutely. My co-partner on our YouTube channel, Mini War Footage, out in Saudi Arabia, Brett, also had COVID and has also been in isolation and is also struggling with hobby burnout, Trying to get that back onto that sort of onto the cycle back. It's like, oh, I've got this done, but it's a lot of work. It is, some dedication out there. And the guys that are doing it as a full-time living, must be absolutely working their socks off. Absolutely working their socks off. So, but yeah, so I think that's covered sort of catch up, and that's caught us up with some what's new. Oh no, the trolls are out. You can go and order your trolls in metal now, so that's good. If you haven't seen it, also, I know it's not really Oathmark, but it's Frostgrave. They've released all of the new vampire and giants that they for the Blood Legacy figures. I don't know if you've seen those.
I have. I think I saw it in the newsletter that went out.
That's right.
That's correct.
Yeah. So there's some pretty sweet looking vampires in there. So if you need a vampire for your undead army, go and have a look at that. The giants look really cool. I don't know. I'm going to get some ordered up personally, and then I can do a size comparison, because I don't know what the giants. I don't know if they're giants or they're ogre giants, but the vampires look really cool. So.
Well, Matt, that's an opportunity for you to run those instead of wraiths in your campaign, and maybe
absolutely.
keep a friend.
Keep yeah. He's going to find out soon, because he said, "Oh, what you do in your armies?" I was like, "Oh, yeah. Well, I'm not telling you. Not until you see him."
Might be a one-game campaign.
I'm sure it won't. But yeah, so we are going to move on, and we are going to start covering the spells that we from Oathmark, I think. No, Oathbreakers, because we are doing Oathmark first. So we're going to cover all those spells that are in there, and just take through and say what we think about how they're useful, and etc. So do you want to start, my friend?
Sure.
Start
so this is kind of a carryover of our last episode together. I think it was 47, where we discussed building an undead army.
It was.
And the original plan was to cover it during that time, but we spent an hour and a half talking about how to build an undead army, so we're going to cover it now. Yeah. And so there's 7 spells in the Necromancer spell book, and these are going to be available to obviously the Necromancers, but also vampires. And the first one we're going to start off with is one I've really come to like, and that's Bone Shards at casting number 6. And that allows the Necromancer to make an immediate shoot 2, combat dice 2 shooting attack against the target. So what it is an easier to cast fireball that's not quite as powerful.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it's a handy little spell, actually. It's like you said, it's got casting 6, and I have used it when I did use one time. I have used a Necromancer. Like you said, it's a shoot 2, combat 2, but it's more likely to happen, especially if you're putting it on a level 1 Necromancer or level 2 even. So it gives you that little bonus, and it's a mini fireball, let's be honest. So you can reach out and touch. You can go and touch the other mages that are out there. I mean, it will kill a mage. We've got that shoot 2, combat dice 2. It can kill a mage. So
yeah, I like it against the units that don't have shielding, obviously, because you want to keep those 2 combat dice, and then also if they don't have any sort of armor to speak of. So elf pathfinders or rangers, dwarven militia, those type of units. You stand a pretty good chance of getting at least a wound through. And like you said, the lower level necromancers are the ones who are going to take this, because when you throw 2 dice at it, you're going to get it off 75% of the time, as opposed to fireball, which is like a 64% chance. So just a little bit more reliable for you.
Yeah, definitely. And then we go to Death Vision. It's casting 9. I've never had this cast on me or ever used it, and it basically what it is it's making an immediate morale, getting those over to an immediate morale test, which seems quite useful. But at casting 9, I'm not sure. I'm not sure I would ever take that unless I had just spells to use up. What's your thoughts?
Yeah. So when you consider that if you do like a wound with fireball or bone shards, it also makes a unit take an immediate morale test. It starts to look a little less good unless you're using it against like a very high armored unit, which a fireball may not be able to penetrate. So like anything armor 11 or higher, or there's certainly a lot of monsters with armor 11 or higher, defense 11 or higher.
Yeah.
So death vision against a giant.
Yeah.
Let's say it's much easier to get that off than try to get a fireball off and do damage to that giant. So I think it's for those big targets, and it's for necromancers that are throwing at least 4 dice, preferably 5.
Yeah. I mean, if you got 4 dice, it's definitely worth taking. But yeah, it's not something I've faced. I suppose if you've got, you're up against goblins, and you can always, or orcs, or even humans, to be honest, at 5, you roll that. That's going to give you a chance that they're going to go disordered. I don't know if they're already disordered, maybe even run away, which would be a bit of a cheeky number. So yeah, I mean, I suppose so. I didn't think of that, but yeah, I've not used it. Like I said, I've seen it, but I can see definitely. Yeah, now you say giants and stuff like that, something with a low morale, and that would be definitely low activation and courage. Still gonna
low activation, high defense. Those are the targets that you mentioned for net vision.
Yeah.
All right, necrotic touch at capacity number 8. Now, this one's interesting. So it's affecting a friendly unit, and that unit takes 2 hits, and it has to make a morale test as though it suffered damage in melee combat. So you don't even get the +1 for it being a ranged attack. But then you get to select a friendly figure that can include themselves, and that figure regains up to 2 health. So can't go above its starting health, and can't bring a figure back that was reduced to 0 health. Essentially, you're taking wounds against a unit in order to recover wounds against another friendly unit.
Yeah, I think it's I think it's definitely a good one if you've got you've got your reverend princes and stuff like that. You can pop damage back onto their health back onto them, or even if you got a mixed army there like you have, and you got a champion or somebody like that, or you got a major hero, a legendary hero that you want to keep in the battle. You can just sort of bleed off on a unit of. I mean, it says take a morale test. So my question would be if you would suggest that you can't take it off skeletons or anything like that, because they're obviously not.
Well, skeletons take morale tests; they just automatically pass them.
Yeah.
So I think if I'm going to run this, I'm going to run it and take wounds off of my undead units.
Yeah.
And put them back either on characters or monsters.
Yeah, because I'm not going to take any hits.
Yeah. Your other option is to take it against goblin slaves, where you're losing like 8-point model in order to boost up a 350-point giant or something. So the math works there, but then you do run the danger of them
running away.
Exactly. Now this is also interesting because the spell heal in the general spell book, you can only cast it on a unit once.
Yeah.
This one you could cast over and over again to keep healing units up if they take damage over multiple rounds. There is no limit to how many times you can cast it on a friendly unit.
No. And it's also on here that you can't use regeneration. So there's things like trolls and stuff like that have got regeneration. You can't just sit there and suck life out of them and get them to regenerate, which I think proves that it's been play tested. I have to say, obviously,
of course,
somebody would definitely have seen that straight off the bat and gone, "Yeah, I'm going to do that," and then It's like, I don't know if Joe picked that up before or after he started writing the rules, but he's definitely thought about, that's what I would do. And that's what, so that's taken that option away of basically free health points.
Of course, trolls don't have regeneration, but they probably should have. So can't cast it on your wolvers.
Oh, is it just, all right, I thought, no, you're right, they don't. Why did I think trolls had?
Because in every other game they have
regeneration.
They
do. Yeah.
And you can cast it on wolvers, you just can't get those health back through regeneration. I should say.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you're not going to have healthy animals though, or wolvers after that. So
I think my favorite play for this would be to take it on a vampire, just because it makes so much sense. Vampires 312 points. They don't have a ton of health at 5. So each turn they can cast that off because they're level 3 mages pretty consistently. Get some health back from themselves.
That is actually a really nice one. Because I mean, when my thinking on the vampires is a combat, so to get them into punch zones, so that would actually be quite useful. Getting that discorporator, yeah, definitely. I like it. Yeah, so I haven't thought of that. And then, so yeah, that sounds. I think it's going to be a really handy spell out there for like you said. That's going to be good. Yeah, I like that. And then we move on to the poisonous blades, which is casting number 5. And what does that do for you? So that's basically gives your target target unit causes 2 or more hits in a melee combat. It delivers 1 additional hit. After causing this additional hit, the spell effects ends. So you can cast it onto a unit that's your friendly unit, and until it does some damage, 2 or more damage, it stays on it. So and then it does that 1 hit. So it's not just endlessly chopping through, but casting number 5, it wouldn't be difficult to cast that on it every turn.
No, and a pro tip from a guy who runs this a lot: make sure you have a token or something to place next to that unit, and then keep that front of mind, because I can't tell you how many times that I've done 2 wounds to a unit, and then halfway through the next round realize that they have poison wounds on them. This essentially is spend it in action early to bank a wound for later.
In a lot definitely.
Of ways.
Yeah. And it does say here, the one point is you cannot inflict this additional hit against an opposing unit if the majority of the figures in that unit have the special ability Undead. So that's quite interesting. I don't know any units that would have a minority of figures that Undead.
An Undead unit that perhaps had a Necromancer who was not a Lich attached to it.
Okay, yeah, that's a good point. Yep, didn't think of that. So... but yeah, no, I think it's a handy little backup there. If you can get, if you say you had orcs or something, that's going to give you that, and they're charging in. That'd be really good to have on them or something like that. So
yeah, it's not just taking a model off. The advantage is much greater than that, because every model you take off affects your opponent's ability to make that morale test after the combat. So being able to pile that on and get more negative modifiers can make a difference for you. So
yeah, I mean 3. I mean, if you've done some damage before that as well, you could be knocking off those extra ranks really quickly as well. So
yeah, so like you could take bone shards and cast that instead, and maybe you knock a guy off. But I guess a unit of elves, they're not going to care because they're going to make the morale test. You throw it on a unit of Revenant Linebreakers instead, and those Revenant Linebreakers go and kill 4 elves. Yeah. And then with the poison, kill a 5th elf. Yeah. Now they're really having to struggle to make that morale test.
You're up to 7 straight away, aren't you? So and that's if nothing else as bad's happened to them. So yeah.
Super easy to get off.
Yeah, I think that's a definite go-to necromantic spell for me. So it just gives that little extra boost. I think it'd be nice to go around chopping up various units.
All right, the next one's reanimate at casting number 4. And that's how you bring your skeletons back. We talked a little bit about it in 47. what's interesting about it is there's a potential boost on it. For every dice roll of a 10, you get to bring an additional skeleton back.
Yes.
Don't count on that. Most of the time, you're just going to be bringing one skeleton back. And
Yeah,
you
yeah.
can be happy and excited if you bring back 2 or 3.
Yeah, and it says they got that maximum of 3 on there, so you're only ever going to be able to get 3. If you've got a level 5 necromancer and you're rolling 5 10s, all of a sudden you're still only going to get 3 back. So
well, I think you can get 4. So I think, yeah, go ahead.
All right, place 1 additional fallen skeleton to a maximum of 3. Is that not? Is that?
So you get 1 for cast and reanimate, and then you can get up to 3 more.
Well,
for 4.
Yes, for each 10.
That's almost an entire rank, but that's really not going to happen very often, if ever.
I would, yeah. I've not seen that. I've seen 10s being rolled, so I've seen 2 go back.
And, there's been some discussion. Is reanimate worth it? You're using a 100-point necromancer at level 2 to bring back an 11-point skeleton. It's not just an 11-point skeleton. It's also a rank bonus sometimes. It's also the difference between a scoring unit and a non-scoring unit at the end of the game. It's the difference between an activation if the unit's still there and not having a unit to activate if they've completely disappeared.
Yeah, no, I've my one of my playing opponents uses that reanimate quite significantly. And I've seen it. Especially if you're playing elves and you've got bow and you're knocking one guy off, because you've done 3 damage, and actually it's only one guy that you're going to be taking out, and then he reanimates that, so it's like you said, it's straight back up to rank of 4, as it's marching in. It's definitely good for the initial moves, I think, to reanimate those guys back up, the skeletons to get moving and have those 4 ranks all the way in. It can be really annoying. You think you've got it, and then all of a sudden he brings back 2. It's back over that limit, and you're like, oh, really? So
it's probably more annoying than it should be. I think a lot of players get tripped up when they have their opponent bringing back guys.
Yeah.
When in actuality, it's a nice spell. I'm telling you, it's a nice spell, but it's not going to make or break you if you're playing against the skeletons that they bring one back.
No. There's always there's 2 ways to destroy skeletons. Yeah, well, there's more than 2, but get a giant inside them. It doesn't matter if they get 1 back. Charge it with 10 human heavy cav. So get a dragon. So about anything big and crunchy, basically, you're going to start chewing through skeletons. But yeah, it's annoying. It's just that frustration when you sort of at the back of the table and they're marching up, and you're like, I want to kill them with my bow.
Yeah.
But yeah. So yeah, I think cast number 4 it's a no-brainer for me. As a take that level 1 spellcaster, you're going to get that 60% of the time. So why wouldn't you? I would say
it's even better than that. It's 70% of the time in a casting number 4.
It is.
So,
I can't add up.
at a level 2, it's actually easier to cast reanimate than it is to activate your spellcaster.
That's very true, actually. Yeah, that's very true. Yes. So it's cast. Yeah. And then we go to revive. So that's casting number 7. And revive is basically for your revenant warriors, etc., all the revenant guys. So you cannot reanimate, obviously, your revenants with the reanimate. You have to use the revive. It basically does the same thing. You can't bring a character back, which is what it says in reanimate as well. You're not allowed to bring those characters back. So if you've got a champion in your unit, you can't bring those back. And you can cast it multiple times. So you could have 2 or 3 necromancers casting on the same unit. It gives you that same benefit as reanimate, to be honest. But obviously, with if you've got revenant line breakers, they're hard hitting units. You got to have revenant cavalry, and another hard hitting unit that revives 7. You've got a necromancer at 2 or 3, and if you're looking at having a more revenant style army, I would definitely be having this spell in there, because you can bring that one revenant cavalry back up to 10, and then you're hitting again on what, 7s.
Anytime you can bring back a 70-point model, you're doing pretty well.
Yeah, it's definitely worth it.
And line breakers at 20 points, always a good thing.
Yeah, no, it's definitely definitely the spell I'd be using, because as we talked in 47, I'm going to go more the revenant way, so my necromancer will definitely be having that spell.
Yes.
And then
here's a spell that if you want to cover it, that's fine, because it's a complicated one.
You go for it. I was going to say this brings us to the last one in the book, so over to you.
Summon Barrow Worm at casting number 10.
Yes.
There's 2 ways to get the Barrow Worm in your army. You can either take it as a monster, or you can summon it on the table.
You can indeed.
And so with this, what you're doing is if it goes off successfully, you put a marker on the table, and then at the end of the turn, you randomly move it after rolling 2 dice in a scatter dice, essentially. So you're not even going to be able to control exactly where it comes up. But if it does come up under a unit that's already on the board, it's going to attack that unit. If it doesn't, then you're going to have to try to activate it, and then it's going to move at the closest enemy unit. If at any time you roll an activation dice, if a 1 or 2 on the 2 activation dice it gets, then it's going to burrow underground, and you won't see it anymore. And I think it's 2 activation dice, but now that I say that, I'm also thinking that maybe it's just 1 due to the fact that it might have the undead rule. So let's see.
It does have yeah.
Okay. So it's uncaring, so it only gets 1 dice.
Yep.
And it's activation 8.
Yep.
So 3 times out of 10, you're going to be able to activate it, and it's going to automatically move to the closest unit. 2 times out of 10, it's just going to go back under the ground. So it's very hard to get off, but it is one of those features that if you do get it on the board, will change the very dynamic of the game.
Oh, yes. No, have played against this being played against me. And I have seen it be cast. It come up not where he wanted it, miles away from anything, and sit there and scratch its head and then disappear. So it's like, okay. And then I've also seen it absolutely chew the hell out of my units. So it's one of those ones where if it works, oh my word, you know about it. And it's ripped, it ripped 2 of my units apart, just cleared them out. And then in a matter of 2 or 3 turns. And then or it's just sat around looking at me.
I think I said enemy unit. It actually goes after anybody's unit.
It does,
yes. The closest unit is.
Yeah, so whatever I've not had him actually. I've not seen it actually attack his own units yet. But it is quite possible for it to, if it comes up underneath your revenant army, it will attack underneath them as well. So it's not fussy. It's
and continue to attack them round after round, perhaps.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. It's basically a slathering great big undead worm, and it's hungry for brains, I suppose.
Scary spell. Not something that I mess with.
No, I mean, I think I alluded to it. I fessed up that at one point we were saying that you needed to pay for the worm and then have to use the spell for it, which is not correct. So Mick, I again apologise for that, but he was paying for a worm that he didn't have to cast and really not getting it off, and it's sitting around doing nothing. But now he doesn't, so he just tries to cast it. But yeah, no, I think it's one of those. If you put, depending on the size of the game, if I was playing a 1,500 to 2,000 point army, I probably wouldn't have this spell in it. It's just not something I'd bother with. if I'm playing in a 2,500, 3,000 point game, that's something I'm start thinking about. Because then I've probably got a level 4 or 5 necromancer maybe in my unit, and that's who I'd be definitely getting to use this spell. I don't want to be no level 1, 2 or 3. 3 might be not so bad, but 4 or 5 definitely. That's what I'd be thinking. Yeah, I mean, you could give it to. I suppose if you had a vampire, you could give it to the vampire. As a little side.
It's
side
level 30.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you're the quick percentage man. What's that? Level 3 dice at 10.
It's about 27%.
Yeah. So it's it could be one of those little sort of useful ones that is sitting off and just sort of 27%. If you're playing 6 turns, 7 turns, maybe not.
So I mean, you get it off, but then you got to roll those 2d10s plus a scatter dice, and if the scatter's off the table, you lose it. So that would be absolutely heartbreaking. Yeah. So you're going to want to put it far away from any table edge, but then you have the possibility it scatters back towards you, and this is just too much randomness for my mind to handle. I'm too worried for this.
That's fair enough. Yeah, I don't see me using it, if I'm honest. But like I said, I have seen it used. Catastrophe, it just being pointless and just smashing through 2 unit, an elf unit and a human unit. You can't. The barrow worm itself is a hard nut to crack.
It is absolutely devastating, right? You're not going to kill it.
No. You don't charge it if it's there and it's standing there and it's this. Just don't bother with it. Just leave it alone to stand around and scratch its head, because you will die.
12 defense, 16 health. It's absolutely crazy.
It just chews through things, but no. So I think it's one of those spells that can change a game, but again, it's not. It's not guaranteed.
It's definitely going to change the game.
Yeah.
Just don't know how.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, well, I've spent 3 turns this morning trying to get 10s, and then all of a sudden it appears, attacks my own units, and then disappears. Yeah. It's like, no, don't want that. So that would be very annoying. But yeah, so I wouldn't be doing that for sure. That would be that would definitely make me think about using it twice.
So those are all the necromancer spells. Plenty to choose from. You can take from the general spell book as well.
Yes.
So lots of options there. And if you need more options, I think we're going to go to Battle Swarm next.
We are.
Matt, I suggest that we go with Summon Water Elemental first, because we can kind of compare it to the Summon Barrel Worm.
I do, yeah, definitely.
All right, so that's casting number 9. And the only stipulation is there has to be water someplace on the board. I'm from St. Louis, so we don't say water, we say water. So if there's some water on the board, you can summon this elemental. And then it's got complete control of this water elemental, and you know exactly what it's going to do. Now, as long as it's on the table, your spellcaster is going to suffer a -1 to all their casting dice as it's trying to keep this thing moving around. But it's a really fun play to add just like another element to your army.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And the water elemental is quite a bit of a beast, actually. It's quite handy.
It is. You can't break it. It's like activation 5, courage 4. Let me see what exactly it is.
Yeah. It's super crunchy. So
it's not a barrel worm. But
no. But it's you got that casting of 9 for starters, and as it says, if it's coming up, it's is it this one? I thought. Does it not regenerate? It regenerates if it's been cast onto the water.
I don't even think it has to be cast onto the water.
All right, I thought it could regenerate if it was casted onto the water. Maybe I'm reading something else. Okay, but I've seen it played. I suggested, because I've never really played with any water on the table, and I went down to a club last year, Ilford Club, and they had some swamps on there, and the guy was saying, "Oh, I don't know what spells to take." I said, "Yeah, have a look at Water Elemental for your level 3 spellcaster." And the opponent was like, "This spell is broken. It is killing me." And I was like, "Okay, I think you're over exaggerating. It's just you weren't expecting this thing to be able to smash the bits out of your army, because that's what it's doing. It's not broken by any sense of the means, but
it's fight 4. It has a champion dice, so it can do some damage, but it only has 3 health and defense 12, so it's fairly easy to wipe off the board.
It is. He killed it. So the problem was he killed it once, then the guy cast it straight away after he got killed. So
that's just bad luck on the casting number 9 spell.
It's like, so oh no, I'm gonna have to think about how to counter this now. I'm like, well, I'm quite surprised, because I would not be thinking about how to counter one spell. The best way to counter the spell is not have water on the table. So
the difference between a casting number 9 and a casting number 10 spell, just to let you know, cast with a level 3 wizard, you have that 27% chance roughly to get that casting number 10 spell off. Casting level 9 is just about a 50% chance to get it off in your round. So
that's pretty good, actually. It's for what you're getting, I think that's definitely worth pulling out of the now and again, especially if you don't do it very often. It's one of those fun ones that just throws an opponent off. So because people don't pick Battlesworn up and go, "Oh, I can use Water Elemental," because people don't really look at, because most of the spells are around the boat rules. That's just what they're there kind of for, which sort of moves us on to the other 2 general spells. Which first one being the Calm Waters, which reduces a river's velocity down to 0. Casting number is 4, and that again there helps your movement with your boats through the boat rules, which we are going to cover in the future, because we have been requested to do that, whether that's with you or somebody else.
Somebody else will be happy to tackle that with you.
I'm sure it would, Michael. Yes, I thought so. But yeah, I will bother somebody else with that one. And then we've got the Engage the Waters. So that again is a casting.
Not Engage, it's Enrage.
Enrage.
So we're not going to marry them.
I can't even read.
It's the opposite.
Yeah. Get hold. See.
You pull the Chris there. You're just changing spell names at a whim.
So enraging the waters, which increases the velocity. So again, it's to do with how quickly your boats are going to be moving up and down the river as they go. So they're not really super useful for the everyday battles. So, but that Summon Water Elemental for me is I think is a definite winner as a general sort of spell. The occasional spell. So if you keep using it, it's not going to have that lovely little surprise that it's going to annoy people.
It's just so flexible. Now, it does have to be cast within 6 inches. Well, when you cast it, the elemental has to come within 6 inches of the caster. But how many times do I play a game where my necromancer or any other wizard is about to die because, he's just being bore down on by an enemy unit of either archers or infantry, and you can cast a water elemental and put it there in front of you. Maybe save him and do some damage in the meantime.
Absolutely. Cool. So yeah, I think we've covered those, and we haven't gone over the 2 hour mark, Michael. It's just fabulous. We were in within an hour, so
fantastic.
We're going to stick to our guns. Nobody has beaten you. You have nothing to prove until somebody has, my friend, with the 10 questions. So
just to remind everyone, to beat me, you got to get 10 out of 10 in 2 minutes and 1 second.
Absolutely. So all comers, are welcome. Though obviously you need to be able to come on and talk about Oathmark. So yeah, no, that's awesome. So what I am going to do, obviously, is the obligatory silly question. So today's silly question is: pointy stick sales are down.
Wait, what? Can you start this over?
Okay, so pointy stick sales are down. Sticks
Okay.
yes, we call them spears.
We were just talking about boats, so I was thinking pointy stick sails.
Like, sticks.
Pointy sticks. Terrible way to make a boat go across the ocean. Using pointy stick sails. You generally want to use cloth sails. As a man from, Britonia, Britain, you know that.
I definitely know canvas is the way forward.
Apparently, you rule the waves is what I hear from the song.
I believe we did for a while. Yes, indeed.
Okay. So pointy stick sales are down.
Yep. So they're down. Obviously hitting profits. What do you do about increasing pointy stick sales?
Well, I think there's a number of things that you can do. Number one, if you get a YouTube influencer like somebody big, and like the only person I know with like a really big YouTube channel for Oathmark that people consistently go to is Scruffy Crow. So if we can get an endorsement deal with Scruffy Crow, I think that immediately shoots up sales. Also, we got Chris from the Ashen Stone YouTube channel who does some great painting videos. He starts featuring some pointy stick figures. That's going to help. But, endorsement deals are a little tough to come by. I can only imagine what Scruffy Crow is going to want. My sales are already down. So I'm not going to go that route.
Absolutely.
Pointy sticks are generally sold to troops who don't have a lot of training. Mm-hmm. So we need more troops with less training on the battlefield. Now, how do we do that? That's the big question. I think what we're going to have to do is get all of the skilled combatants in one place. We'll hold like a tournament. But instead of having a tournament, they're thinking they're going to come to a tournament. But actually, it's going to be like a dragon's lair. And it's waylaced to them all because we know nothing can defeat a dragon at all in Oathmark. It eats everything and can never be defeated. And I'm sticking by that.
Fair enough.
Like, all of a sudden, every king in the marches has lost the core of their army. And now they got to go down to the very minor leagues, or whatever you guys call them in England, second and third division, picking up those guys who barely know how to kick a soccer ball and can't hold a sword. And they're going to need to arm them with something. And that's going to be pointy stick. So that's what I'm going to go with, Matt. I'm going to invite them all to the Dragon's Lair on the auspices of participating in some sort of like World Cup championship of martial prowess.
Yes.
And then let the dragon eat them all, and then pointy stick sales go right back up.
They are. You're gonna basically left with untrained and the militia. So that's all we're going to. Pointy sticks are going to be needed, and yeah, I mean the dragon's going to have all of the metal as well. So because they love a bit of metal, so pointy sticks are going to be the only way. I see where you're going with that.
And I know immediately, like, then my swords and battle axe sales are going to take a hit. But in the long run, militia does eventually promote up, and we'll be wanting swords. So it's like I get to sell them the pointy sticks, and then later on bank on sales on the guys who survived a few battles.
Absolutely.
Then buying some swords and battle axes.
Yeah, that sounds good to me. Well, I think we've got a way forward on how to make good profits on pointy sticks. It's definitely getting. Oh, yeah, I mean the other thing is obviously maybe pour in some sort of potency potions into the hobbits, the halflings dinners, so that they sprout many more a child. And but that's a long-term plan, I feel.
That is also long-term.
Double or tripling hobbit numbers.
I like to think that we're at late-term capitalism in the marches, so it's all about short-term profits and sustainability. We can
fair enough.
Fair enough.
That's fair.
I don't think it's a controversial statement if I said every player on the Oathmark Facebook page, if they brought all their best units to my house and lined them up on a board and on the other side, I just had one dragon. The dragon wins and kills everything. I don't think anybody out there is going to disagree with that.
I don't think you.
No.
I think you're right.
I'm pretty sure Joe McCullough said the same thing when you interviewed him.
He did
about the dragon. Yeah,
he did.
He wanted it to beat everything. So.
He did. He was. That's more than Smorg and the Balrog combined. He was. That's what we've got right there. So
cannot be defeated.
Nope, it's impossible. And if you do claim that you've killed one, we need video evidence of all die rolls.
I need to see that.
Yeah,
and if you say you beat one in a game, yes, you kicked one guy out of the unit each turn and ran him into the dragon because you won activation each time. But if you're doing that in real life, eventually you run out of guys to throw at them.
Absolutely.
All you're left with is militia. So.
Yep, and more pointy sticks.
Yep, I'm going to sell them all.
Exactly. Okay, my friend. Well, I thank you again for an excellent episode. Thank you again for coming along and spending some time with me to talk Oathmark. As always, I love it. I really appreciate you coming on. So it's good to have you back, my friend.
It's always good to be here, and I look forward to seeing you again when we record with Chris, either before or after this one comes out. So
absolutely.
We'll see.
Yeah.
But if I can stall for just about, there we go. I just clicked at 6 p.m. here in St. Louis time. It is now officially Matt Big's birthday, everybody.
It is.
Matt,
whoop, whoop.
Happy birthday, old man.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you very much. I don't feel old today. I don't feel old today. You're only as old as the person you're feeling. Oh, well, I've not got anybody here. Anyway, guys, I'd like to thank you all for listening in, and thank you for spending your time listening to us go on about Oathmark, our favourite subject. We will hopefully speak soon. Michael, and I know we will, and we will be back again. And so I would like to say good night, good evening, or good morning wherever you are, and good night, Michael.
Good night, sir. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.